If you've done any browsing on the internet, you've probably come across one of these forms where there's autocomplete suggestions as you type in your address. So for example, on this page, if I type in San Diego, I'll get these two suggestions here. Now, I really like this because it does a couple of things. First, it reduces typos from the user inputting their address. And then secondly, it's just a much faster experience for the user to fill out the form. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to set that up using the Google Places API Autocomplete library. So if we head over to the documentation, you'll notice down here that we're going to need an API key. So let's go over to Google, type in console Google, and click on this result right here. So we're going to create a new project. So in this drop down, you can see the different projects that I have set up already. So up here, I'm going to select new project, and then I'll give this a name of, let's say, Google Places Demo. You can assign your project to an organization or a folder, and then click on Create. Okay, our project has been finished creating, so let's select the project up here. And next, we want to create that API key. So let's go over here to the navigation menu, and let's go over to APIs and Services. And next, we need to enable the APIs that we need. So for our case, we're going to use the Places API. Let's go ahead and enable it right here. And this is going to be the API key that I'm going to be using for this demo. So go ahead and copy it. And let's go back to the Google Maps platform because I want to show you how to restrict that API key from only showing on your website or whatever property that you want and not on any other domain. So here we are on select restriction type, and let's go with websites. And here you're going to enter the domain along with a little regular expression to capture things like subdomains and also things like the page URL or the page path after like the .com /. So in my example, I'm going to be using a service called Swipe Pages, and this is the URL that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this URL and then go back to the restriction page here. So I'm going to paste in the URL in here. And in your case, you're probably going to do something like this, where you just get rid of this and enter in the asterisk. And then after this /, you'll replace that with the asterisk again. So this is going to capture everything like www. whatever, or maybe like a subdomain with your domain.net, and all pages that come with your domain or your subdomain. So for this example, I'll keep it like this. This is a demo, so I'm just going to delete this API key eventually. So let's go ahead and just go with that and then restrict your key. All right, great. So we set up our API key. Now the next thing that we need to do is to go into our web page or website builder and insert the library to then access the Google Places Autocomplete library. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm using a landing page builder called Swipe Pages. And in this case, if you're following along with Swipe Pages, you'll go over to the settings and then go over to tracking codes. And here's where you can access your script. So if you're hard coding, you would just go over to your head element and then input this script. As you can see here, this is the Places library that we're going to be pulling. And for this placeholder API key, you're going to then paste in the key that you just created in the previous step. The next step is to head over to the body end, or otherwise known as the closing body tag, and then copy and paste the script. So one key distinction that I want to make here is the query selector. Depending on how you are building your website, you're going to do this a little bit differently. So in my case, I just want to re-emphasize that I'm using a landing page maker, and I am unable to insert the ID in the input field within the form. Swipe Pages allows you to access the CSS ID for the form element, but not for the input element within the form. So a workaround for this situation is to to identify the input and then the attribute name to then make that my search input. So let me show you what that looks like. If we open up the dev console and then click into this input field, you can see the input element and then the attribute of name equals search input. So this is created by Swipe Pages, and I'm just simply using what they're using, out of the box to then target this input element. But in the best case scenario, you can just simply access this input and then put in your ID like this. Okay, so let's go back to the code. One other thing that I want to call out here is that you can put other attributes in your code like component restrictions, which could be pretty handy if you just want to select a particular country where you want to limit your suggestions. And if you want a full list of what that looks like, of all the different options that you have available, head over to the dev docs and you can see all of the different attributes and options that you have available. All right, so next we want to save this and then publish this. And one thing to note here is this might take a minute or so for Swipe Pages. It should be instant if you're hard coding your site. But I've noticed that it takes a little bit of time in order for the changes to actually go through. I'm not sure if it's a caching error or something like that, or caching issue, but something to keep in mind. So if we head over to the form, let's just do a quick demo. Let me close this out. So I'll put in my name and then put in San Diego, and you'll see the suggestions come up. All right, that's it for this video. I hope you found this helpful. And if you have any feedback, or maybe there's an easier way to do this, I would definitely want to get your thoughts on that. And please share that with the group in the comments below.